That's right. We still in instrumentals all 2019. What the hell is going on, good damn people?
Man, what's up? What's up? Something a little different.
Not different. We do this shit every year.
Well, every year he drops one.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much what it is. So this is your annual anal Big Krit album review for 2019.
If you haven't noticed, we're big Krit fans.
Can you tell at this point? I mean, is it blatantly damn obvious? This your boy LP.
The other one's Gati.
We got Mike on the mic in the building as well.
Message.
This nigga over here. Yeah, we got Mike in the building. You know, he only comes around once or twice a year and typically has something to do with music. So we appreciate him sliding through, giving his intakes and outtakes and everything in between. That door's not going to stay shut regardless. But now, again, we'll jump right into it. No big deal there.
No. Let's go and get to the meat and potatoes.
The meat and potato, yeah. It's not like the regular show that we do where, you know, we got 5 or 6 different things that we may need to touch on.
Some of that fluff.
Yeah. Some of all that extra shit.
Take it straight to it.
Yeah. So the album that Big Krit just dropped on July 12th is titled KRIT Is Here. Now, again, if you have been following Big Krit for a while, or hell, even if you just caught on to him, you understand that, I guess, his first drop official was KRIT Was Here, which was, you know, the album that I actually started listening to. And, you know, and shout out to Mike for introducing the nigga to it. But now he's finally telling everyone that, no, I'm actually here. I'm actually here in the building at this point. If you looked at the review or listened to the review from last year for Forever is a Mighty Long Time, we were pretty favorable. At least I know for my own self, I was favorable for the CD that he put out. You know, a lot of it had to do with just Gotta Come Up to Come Down. You know, that when I heard that song the first, I was like, you know what? That makes the rest of the album a hell of a lot better. You know, but after listening to it after a while, you know, I still kind of give him my staying favorable rating that I gave him with that album. But this album for KRIT Is Here, when I heard about it dropping, and I like how he did it. I want to start there from a marketing standpoint.
Right.
You know, I like how he did it. Now he was dropping tracks late 2018, like around the September, October time frame. He was dropping a few tracks here or there. Like
he dropped a few EPs.
Yeah.
Actually, there's 2 songs on the album that are from the EP. So
exactly, and you kind of expected that. I think total with all the ones that he dropped then during that time frame, how many was it? Like 6 or 7, maybe. Total?
I think it ended up being 8 tracks total.
Yeah.
And 2 of them from out of those 8 ended up on the album. I wish he would have added 1 more, but it's cool.
Right. And you know, from a marketing standpoint, I think when he phrasing, he kept your name in his he kept his name in your mouth by just dropping those efforts, and then, you know, slowly but surely, you know, then he started.
You could tell there was a plan. It wasn't just frivolously throwing stuff out there. There was a long-term plan with this to kind of keep his name, the buzz there.
Right. Which that's always been kind of an issue for me with him, is like you'll do something, you know, we talk about it offline all the time, like he will, you know, drop a song and then 9 months later the video come out, you know, and I'm over dramatizing obviously, but you have to kind of keep your name going. You kind of, even if you do features here or there, he's not one to really do a lot of features commercially,
which is a lot of the, I guess his problem is visibility and being heard and being seen. And for him to be such a dope producer, I'm really surprised he doesn't produce more for other artists. Like he does here and there, but for the most part, he saves most of the good production for himself, which I guess, you know, he wants to be greedy. And that's kind of been his gift and his curse. You know, at the same time, he, you know, for the whole time he's produced and he sounds great over his production. But at the same time, it's his production. It can be a little redundant. It's
repetitive.
Repetitive. It's like a Southern sound. It's, you know, it's country rap tunes. We're all from Texas, so now I've always believed that KRIT can make it with that sound, but then you know, over time, I really kind of looked at how they treat artists who have that sound, and there seems to be a ceiling for that particular sound. So I knew at some point KRIT was gonna have to branch out and work with different producers, and this time he finally did it throughout the whole project. He really only produced one song on this album, so I was proud of him for that factor, because it has to be hard for him to let go of the reins.
Oh, it has to be.
When you've been producing so long for yourself and depending on yourself to do things, it's kind of hard to let that go.
Because, like I said, he said in one of his interviews, it's like, I'm one of the few rappers that you can put me in the studio by myself and I can come out with a full album, mixed, mastered. I have the beats. I'll do the hooks and everything. And like you said, that's a gift and a curse. Because you can get caught up in like, nah, I'm dope. I know I'm dope. Not too many people can do this. But not too many people do that because, like I said, with him working with other producers, it brings a different sound. It makes you. It puts
kind
you
of
in
the same sound, but
it puts you. It puts you in an uncomfortable spot where I gotta change. I can't always hit this cadence because I know this beat. Because I made the beat. Right. So I gotta really I gotta approach it like this.
And obviously making your own beats, like you said, you have your own cadences because you're gonna have when you're making the beat, the way I would do it is completely novice, but when you're making a beat, you kind of have this thing in your head, and you're not gonna change that. You know what I'm saying?
He already knows how he wants to sound on that particular beat. When he puts those drums, those drum rolls, or those 808s, he already kind of knows what he wants to do with those. So the good thing is the producers seem to have challenged him a little bit. Now, granted, it still sounds like something he would produce. He just might not know how to produce it that way. But it's not too far from something that we've heard KRIT on. Some of the beats, they're a little different, but overall, if you've been listening to KRIT for the length of time we have, which is a very long time, then
forever is a mighty long time.
I'm talking about. Then he can pretty much rap over anything, and I'm talking about even before KRIT was here. He had about 5 or 6 mixtapes starting from 2005. Even before KRIT was here. So he's been rapping on different type of production for a long time. So I always knew he could do it. It's just a matter of whether he was going to do it on his, I guess studio albums, even though he did them on his mix albums or whatever you want to call them.
Even though most of those, the production on those were albums.
Those were basically albums. Those were basically albums.
And honestly, I was going to bring this up if it came up, it's, I get it, EPs, mixtapes, and there are differences between the two. Trust me, I definitely get it. However, the way that he's been producing and doing things since forever, it's like, no, he's making albums whenever.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I guess the difference is it's like he can't pay for those samples, and that's really what it broke down to. And I know he was saying about his first album, Live from the Underground, that his first single came out in September 2011, but the album didn't come out until June 2012.
That's that 9-month shit.
Basically, not June. Basically, Def Jam, they kind of shelved him for Kanye. Kind of couldn't get on the runway because there were 17 other planes on the runway, so he had to kind of wait his turn. So, and plus them not giving him a full budget to make the song sound how he wanted them to sound. So instead of having samples, he had to replay them. And if anybody knows about replaying samples, they don't always sound how you really intended on them to sound. So that can change the complexity of the actual song.
It changes your attitude because it's like, damn, I got to go back in and do this shit again. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, fuck that. So the good thing is, he's off of that. He has that monkey off his back now. And with this album, again, I thought going into it, like, I know the intro beat was the KRIT Is Here, and obviously I did that on purpose. At the same time, when that single dropped, and we talked about it. When that single dropped, I was like, man, that sounds just like some normal KRIT shit, and there's nothing wrong with that. However, after this time frame, especially, I would like to see a little bit more progression, a little bit more evolution into his whole musical sound whenever he dropped the album. And I was very apprehensive when that single dropped. I mean, again, it's a good KRIT song, great, phenomenal.
You probably weren't the only one. How I feel is it was a classic KRIT sound. I know he didn't produce it. I kind of
could have fooled the fuck out of me
when it was called KRIT Is Here. that being the name of the album, I thought it was going to be more of an extension of KRIT Was Here. More soul samples, more of the same, but still just a 2019 sound.
Right.
And it's not really that. It's more of it's a standalone album. It's not really in the story of KRIT Was Here or Returning Forever or Forever Is a Mighty Long Time or any of, what was the other mixtape? It's Better This Way. All those kind of had an underlining theme of, hey, I'm not
12 for 12.
It's like you guys know I'm here, you see me here, but you're not listening to what I have to say. So, but there was really a difference on this album. And this album is really more screaming about it's really more about him being confident in himself.
That's what I took.
Right, and being confident in his situation now, and being confident in where his place is in the rap game now. That can either work with you or work against you. Maybe he I think at this point he's tired of competing because quiet as kept. If you've really been listening, I really feel like he's been jabbing Kendrick for maybe like the last 5 years, but people really aren't listening. Really, ever since Mount Olympus, I felt like he's been. I felt like but not necessarily with Mount Olympus, just other verses, especially the number one from the last album. If you're really listening. I really feel like he's been jabbing at Kendrick, but I don't know if everyone's really catching that. Maybe I'm reaching, but I don't really think I am. So.
Right. Do you know what specifically he said?
I couldn't pull. I'd have to pull up the lyrics, but it's more so about, hey, you guys are copying me, this type of thing, and you guys are getting credit for things that I've already done,
been doing.
Gotcha, so just certain little, it's little subtle things,
even with him and Cole too. I feel, not saying that it's never. I don't think it's like a negative connotation on, but I think it's just like, hey, he's, he gets that credit for being, no features and doing this, that,
right.
And the third is like, hey, I've been doing this shit for the longest too,
right.
And it was cool to see them on a track together.
Yeah, it wasn't the first time. It's just been a long time. It's been since 2012 on DJ Khaled's album. It was actually KRIT, Kendrick, and Cole, and it was called They Ready. And they haven't done that since 2012. And really, it sounded more like a Cole and KRIT song that Khaled happened to put Kendrick on. That's really what it sounded like. Because I know they were on tour for a brief moment in 2012, like a college tour. Kendrick and Cole, not Cole and KRIT were. So, it makes sense that they would make more music. I wish they would have made more music together over these years. Yeah. It's a shame they haven't really done that.
Because it seemed like they were, especially on that track on the album, it seems like they got a good back and forth.
Yeah, they do
on the mic.
Even though they're talking about two different things, I think it's just two different perspectives, and that's fine. I enjoyed the song. Now, I guess people were thinking that they would have a different energy. The song might be about something different, but with it being Cole and KRIT, to me, that was right up their alley. And maybe that's what people's problem was. It was like, okay, we know you guys will make a song about in this lane. Right. Maybe do something a little harder or a little more upbeat or a little bit whatever. Just not what you got. What we expect from you guys. Right. So
yeah, because at first it came when I heard it, I'm like, oh man, this is the beat that they chose. But then after putting everything together with the lyrics, and like you said, they're both talking about proving things in two different perspectives.
Right.
And again, creatively, it made sense. To me, I'm like, okay, well that's a dope ass track, just because again, it's just creative as fuck. Like, sorry people that it can't sound like Out of Sight, Out of Mind with J Rock and J Cole. I mean that song had a purpose, but this song definitely proved it. It proved that both of those guys are, number one, they're versatile. Number two, no matter what they're talking about, they can easily get on a track together, and it's a seamless fucking track.
Oh, for sure. And hopefully there's more to come. We don't want this to be another 6 to 7 years before they work together again. Right. That'd be a shame. At least get some production from each other.
Right. Something.
Work together.
Cole's done with Dreamville now, so damn it, maybe they can get some shit going.
Yeah, and that was the thing I said. KRIT did kind of allude to with. When he was doing this album with him and Cole, was like he had so much to do with his team that I can understand. We gonna 2 trains passing in the night. Like we're gonna miss each other on some of these things. So it was cool that they were able to get this track done.
Right, for sure. Other standout tracks, I'd say. Obviously KRIT Here. I've been waiting. I like I've been waiting. I think the beat was a little generic. If to me, if you're gonna rap on something that sounds current and sounds today, I think it could have been a little harder. I think that's what probably my biggest knock on the album is. It's like the beats that he chose, they could have been a little harder.
Right. Now, with that being said, you're right about I've been waiting, because I was thinking the same thing. Like, especially when the song first came on, I'm like, come on, give me some. However, he gave it to you in Believe.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, we'll get to that here in a little bit. But yeah, Make It Easy. I love that fucking track.
That's Krit. That's Krit. Classic Krit.
Yeah.
And that's lyrical Krit. That's Krit rapping his ass off on that track. That was produced by DJ Camper. That wasn't Krit either. That was just more of the confidence, basically saying, you know, I made it, and I made it without a hit. I made it without a major cosign. Because if you think about it, all his peers, Kendrick has Dre. You know, Cole has Jay-Z. You know, Wale has Ross. Big Sean has Kanye. Right. You know what I'm saying? Saha has Kanye.
They had that big machine. Basically, that big machine.
That big machine behind.
Backed up by ESPN.
That bigger artist. You know, Drake has Wayne. Nicki has Wayne. And there's always somebody to be on a coattail, but he didn't have no coattail to be on. Now, granted, he got the cosigns of the Bun B's, the UGKs of the world. He got the Southern greats. But if you think about it, some of those artists like the 8 Balls and MJGs, they didn't really get their just due either.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm like, it's a little different between a Bun B and a Jay-Z. And I love Bun from Texas.
It's a lot different.
It's a lot different, but it's different from having somebody like that push you versus a Bun. You know what I mean?
Right. No, absolutely. Addiction, to me, I think that commercially, that should be the #1 track commercially.
Oh, it was. That was why it's the. I think he should have already had a video for that one. Maybe that's in the works. I thought that's dope. That was produced by Rico Love and Don Corleone. It's a dope track. It's a radio friendly track. I could hear it on the radio. Hopefully, it picks up with the streams.
Right.
I haven't seen Wayne say anything about it, but you know, I guess you wouldn't really expect him to. Yeah. But
he's with Blink 182 now.
Right. So
he's on
tour with them. But
I still think that's dope that he still was able to eat. I don't know when they actually did the track, but
you
know, since he is on tour, that's still dope that he was able to throw that in there real quick.
Oh, for sure. He said his manager was in the same room with Wayne's manager at the right place, right time type of thing. So he was able to get him on the track. I think it's a pretty cool radio track. Make your head nod a little bit. It's got a little groove to it.
Right.
West Coast feeling with Sweetie on there. I think she's from the Bay or from Cali. So I think it's a dope track. I don't have anything wrong with it. Like, I can, long-time listeners of Krit, I could see why you would have a problem with it, but I'm like, he has to broaden his fan base at some point. He can't continuously do the same thing over and over again and expect him to blow.
And I don't feel like he compromised himself on
he still sounds like Krit. He still sounds country.
That's the thing about it. So if it's not like he went over the top trying to be commercial with it or something like that, then I could get behind that. But he still sounds himself on this album that's trying to be a broader base.
Definitely.
Right.
And we won't go through every track, but we'll just hit some of the standouts.
Energy, that was the one that was what you
see, that was the one that was in question with some people, but I like that one from the jump.
I questioned it took, I don't know if I just wasn't in the right mind frame when I first listened to it, because it took me, I would say, about 7-8 times. So finally I think I finally just sat there and listened to it. I think I was always kind of moving around doing something while I was listening to it. And I was like, man, that whole thing hitting like I thought it would. And then he backed it up with the visual, with the video.
Dope video. That's probably his best video in my opinion.
Hands down.
Since he's been in one of his best. He had some of his early videos that were before Krit was here or around that time that were dope. But I think Energy is one of his better videos though.
Yeah,
for sure.
And the same thing happened with me. Like the first time I heard the track, I was just like, okay, cool, not bad. But again, over time and after looking at the video over time, I was like, oh, okay, that's a dope ass track.
I knew it was dope from the jump. It's one of those tracks from the TDT EP. It was produced by Danger, which, if anyone knows, Danger Hands is, if you listen to that Justin Timberlake album from 2006 with My Love on it with T.I., he produced a lot of that with Timbaland. That's Timbaland's understudy. So he produced a lot of that album with Timbaland. Other songs, notable songs.
Is that his brother?
Nah. Other notable songs would be like with the DJ Khaled, We Taking Over. Everyone knows that song. So, yeah, all those songs from like 05, 06, 05, 06 range with Timbaland, that has something to do with Danger. So he produced that. And obviously with the Jill Scott sample, I don't think you can go wrong, which is He Loves Me.
Right.
Everyone, if you're a Jill Scott fan, you know that song. So that's the little, you know, I know I can't sing, but you know, the little sample in the background and the winds in the background. So I thought that was dope as well. I love that track.
It's one that kind of surprised me was the one with Yellow Beezy. And it said, I know Beezy was just on the hook, but for him to brand, that's somebody I wouldn't think he would go in this. Not saying that they couldn't.
That shit came out of nowhere.
But I just didn't think they were them two cross paths.
Honestly, I wasn't that surprised. You know why? Because Yellow Beezy sounds country as hell on the record.
No, he does.
So that's why it would make perfect sense to me why they would be on. Now, two different type of music.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You know what I'm saying? He's not really Krit isn't a street rapper, so I get why you say that. And Beezy really kind of leans towards the streets or whatever. But it wasn't that much. I was actually happy. I was happy that he was on the track with him.
No, and I said. Even the hook that Beezy did, I like that.
Yeah,
hook.
I like the hook.
Was dope.
I like the hook.
When I heard it, I was like, okay,
man,
just basically saying I made it, and that was produced by Wallace Lane, a newer young up and coming producer. I thought it was dope as well. I wish Beezy could have had a verse on there, but. It's cool. I guess it's, radio. It's short. I saw it online the other day. The K104, local radio station here in Dallas, was actually playing that track. Now, it wasn't because Yellow Beezy's on there. I don't know.
Of course.
But I think it's radio format. It's, I think, less than 3 minutes or around 3 minutes. So if it fits in with today's time frames on all these songs.
2 minutes and 28 seconds. Yeah. So, I was going to say they'll fuck around, cut it off the first verse, after you do the hook, after Beezy do the hook, but they just gonna let it keep on riding.
Yeah.
Like I said, believe is, again, to me, like, that one track that's on an album where it doesn't have to be on it doesn't have to be on anything, but that one track.
That's that one when you go to the concert, that hoe's gonna be right
for sure.
Yeah. Everybody's gonna know it.
Yeah.
And shit.
But
even if it's not.
But hold on, we skip every time though. To me, every time. That is a good one. To me, lyrically, Every Time is the best song on the album.
And who's his Baby Rose?
It's actually a chick.
Okay.
And I know her voice is a little deeper, but it's actually a chick. She's actually on a few songs right now, on other people's tracks, featuring on it. But it's a standout track to me. It's a classic laid back Krit sound with all the sports references. Basically, boasting confidence. Basically saying he only needs to compete with himself and not really anybody else.
Right. That was, to me, like what we kind of said that in the beginning. That was an overriding thing with me through the whole album. Like he kind of throughout the whole album, he was walking around with his chest out. Like,
for sure.
Like, hey, I know what I can do. I know where I've been.
Right.
Shit like
and
that.
He's always giving you sprinkles of that here and there, but more so it's been about the drinking sessions. It's been about the vent.
Right.
It's been about songs that were soul food. It's been about songs that had a little bit more social commentary or a little bit more what's the word I'm looking for? A little bit more self-awareness about where he's at, currently at. And this album is more boastful, and I like that. And Every Time, to me, that's one of his best tracks that I think he's put out in a while.
And the one that I kind of figured it would be the one that he produced was Blue Flame Ballet.
For sure.
Gotta have
a strip club.
And because he's always had an affinity for strip club. I mean, that's kind of been an overriding theme throughout his career, which is not a bad.
I mean, but he's versatile. He can talk about the strip club. He can talk about God. He can talk about struggling. He could talk about police. He could talk about riding on foes and slamming doors and candy paint. He could talk about all that. That's one thing I've always admired about Krit. He can touch about every topic. The only thing he really doesn't touch on is the street aspect because he probably wasn't a street guy.
Right.
So other than that,
he definitely was a square.
He can give you a breakup record.
But that's not a bad thing.
Right.
Yeah, of course.
Right. He can give you a breakup record. He can give you a love record. He can give you any type of record that you can think of. Any type of emotion you're having, Krit has a song for that.
Yeah.
Family Matters was a good track too. I do like.
I didn't really like. I understood the gist of it, the concept of it, but I didn't really like it. I didn't like the beat. I just didn't overall really like the song, and that's okay. And Krit's one of my favorite artists, and I think it's always great to be objective. So
now let's do like everybody else be doing nowadays. No, man, you don't like this shit, man.
And then This one was funny. Mississippi. This one was funny to me because I have a particular way that, like, especially with my favorite artists, that I listen to their albums. And my wife, she just like, oh, I seen this song on and she clicked it on. And it said I hadn't listened to the album yet or anything. So I'm listening to it out of sequence and stuff. I like to listen straight through.
Which is how you should listen to an album.
See how the album is supposed to flow.
Right.
Then I might do that once or twice, and then I put it on random, and then that's when I start picking the songs, the ones that kind of just hit my ear, and that's okay. I like that one, and I like that one. That one I want to listen to a lot. So she just puts it on one day. I think this was like Sunday or Saturday or something like that, because it dropped Friday.
Right.
So she's like, and I said, I was like, why are you putting this song on? She was like, but it's Krit, it's his new album. I was like, yeah, I said, I know that, but I said, I have a way that I listen to this, and you fucking with my vibe right now.
Straight through.
So she got mad. I was like, no, I really, every time from Jay-Z to whoever I think like they're up there for me, I listen to them in a particular way.
Right.
And she just didn't get that. So she get all up in her feelings and stuff. I was like, no, that's not what. So I'm like, man, go on, get to the back. We listened to the song. I was like, yeah, I'm done listening to it. I was like, cut the rest of it.
So I didn't want to hear that one yet.
I don't want to hear it.
I don't want to hear that one yet.
Because that was the last track. So I'm still
right.
And then when I saw it, was like I saw the dots in between Mississippi.
So you know it was an acronym. You know it's an acronym.
So when he broke that down, I was like,
maybe man, I almost had it. My phone just did something stupid. But actually, it's called "Maybe I'm So Southern I Sometimes Scare Ignorant People's Perception of Independence."
Boy, if you don't know how to spell Mississippi after that, there was something wrong with you.
I thought it was a dope track. It's a classic Krit sound.
With the horns.
With the horns. And to me, it sounded like Outkast, Idlewild.
Man, that sounded just like Roots.
Sounded like something that would have been on Idlewild, in my opinion. With all those horns
just
and everything.
Like
and that was produced.
Danger Again.
That was produced by Danger Again.
Boy.
And I said but yeah, she got mad. I was looking at it like, you mad at me because I got a certain way. Like, you don't get it. It's like, I don't just
straight through.
I
like to listen to an album straight through twice to make sure
listening to
I heard
it right.
what I heard. Exactly.
Now, we are in the millennial lifestyle, I guess, if you will, whether we're considered millennials or not. It's kind of irrelevant.
We actually are.
With a fringe.
Yeah, it's right there at the tip.
With a bridge that makes them
and
crazy.
So we have to do the compare to. Now, we're going to compare him to himself, okay? Out of all the Krit albums, I'm talking EPs, mixtapes, 12 for 12. I'm talking about all of them because, again, I consider them all to be fucking albums, even though I guess technically most of them aren't. Where does this rank in his total, I guess, discography, if you will?
That's difficult because it's still early.
Even though he's been around for almost a decade.
I'm talking about for this specific album. For this specific album, I don't know, because a lot of the older albums are, people like to harken back on old albums or old situations because where you at in that particular time in your life.
Michael Jordan.
Well, numbers, you can't really argue numbers. You know what I mean? So that's one thing. But as far as like what you're listening to, I think it's hard. I still say, to me, Krit is here. Krit was here, and Return of Forever like 1A, 1B.
Okay.
Yeah, them are real.
And so to me,
I still have those. I have like a lot of those songs still on my playlist that I listen to.
I'd have to actually come back. I'll be honest with you, I had to come back and really think about that and put them in order because we're not even going to talk about what he did before 2010. Mm-hmm. So we'll talk about everything he did after that, which is Krit Was Here, Return of Forever, Forever and a Day,
Cadillactica.
Live from the Underground. Mm-hmm. Then you have Cadillactica. Then you have what's the other splitting one where he's going in between? It's Better This Way. Mm-hmm. Then you have, actually we forgot Krit. He did put out a mixtape called Krit. Mm-hmm. That was somewhere around 2013, which I think that was actually before Cadillactica as well. So he has a lot of music out there.
A ton.
A lot of music.
That was a crazy stat that Charlamagne said about it. Said he's produced over like 70% of his music.
Yeah, there's actually you can actually follow them on IG. They're called Hip Hop by the Numbers, and they actually have the whole breakdown of his career. And you guys continue to talk real quick, and I'll find that.
Do you rank it?
I said, it's like you said, in this kind of immediacy era where you gotta rank. I don't feel like you have to. I don't feel the pressure to. I want to see how this grows on me, because like you said, KRIT was here and things of that nature. Those kind of. I want to see if it has that lasting power to me, because like Catalantica.
That was my next question. Does it have staying power? But it hasn't even been a week, so I don't know if it has staying power, because that answer hasn't been out long enough to even.
And that's part of the problem with this fast food generation, that
microwave, baby.
It's so quick that no one wants to hold on to anything and let anything ride. Everything has to be a class. It's either trash when it comes out or classic when it comes out. There's no gray area, and I think that's stuff has to grow on you.
Right.
You have to allow things to grow on you. So
like energy, that song grew on me. Right. It took me this is jamming. What the hell have I been missing?
Right.
And it been on my phone. I'm just kind of skipping over it or something like that, or listening to it every once in a while. And, this is a jam. Let me go back to this and re-listen to it and make sure make sure I listen to it and give it my full attention.
Right. Now, does this album, in your opinion, does he turn the curve with this?
I think so. I think if he keeps heading in this direction, he doesn't even have to produce another album. Keep heading this direction, and I think I think what the deal is, he had a lot of younger producers, and the tracks weren't trash at all from sonically, from a production standpoint. But I think he can rap over better production if he works with better producers. It's all about producers, and if he can get with the right producer, I think that can, because I still don't feel like he's reached his peak. I still don't think he's plateaued. I still think he has a few more levels he can get to from a songwriting ability and just from overall album making. I think this just showed that he can make an album without producing it all, and it still sound good, and it still sound cohesive, and still sound like something that his fans would appreciate.
Right.
And I think that showed him as well that he can do that. Kind of take that backseat where. He said, now you can really show that lyrical, that you're a real rapper.
Now I'm lyrical all of a sudden, but last year they claimed they can't
not
understand.
saying that, his fans, like his core fans know. But, like you said, broadness horizon where, he can make this kind of jam, or he can make this kind of jam where it stands out and stuff like that. And he said, he finally took J. Cole's advice and got in the studio with other producers.
Right. So he has 326 tracks across all projects, and that's between. I think that actually might not even be enough if we're talking about anything after 2010. But I don't know if they're counting everything before 2010. But
he did say on What You Got, he had over 300 tracks.
Right, sole producer of 227 of those.
God damn.
No co-producers, 69.6%. 14-year career, 3 top 10 albums. So he's had a lot of stuff on his own and done a lot on his own. So you can imagine if you've been producing by yourself for so long, you tend to know what you sound good on and know specifically what you want to rap about on whatever type of beat. So it's always best to broaden your horizons and work with different producers.
It's kind of like a stay-at-home mom. I mean, you've been a stay-at-home mom for the last 3 years. I'd be damned if you're going to go get your kid up real quick.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you want to go back to work. However, let me explain something.
And he built that on his own, you know what I mean? So that's one thing you could say about KRIT. He's a one-stop shop and all-in-one. Before the artist Russ was saying how he produced, engineered and did everything, KRIT was one of the first ones doing that himself. Produced, engineered, arranged. You know what I'm saying? Sang on his tracks, because he grew up listening to Pimp C, and he knew Pimp C was more than just a beat maker. He was a producer. He was an organist. He could actually sing on the tracks as well. So he's in that line of production and being able to rap and produce at the same time.
Yeah. It's like I said, it's good to with me, it's good to see him stick his chest out. That's my whole thing about it. Like we've been waiting. It's like when LeBron finally talked that shit in the finals to Steph. Like, nigga, we've been waiting for this shit for the longest. Like, finally, you know your greatness, basically. And it's cool. I'm not saying that you can boast a little bit, and I'm not saying you got to go over the top. There is a fine line to it, yes, but for the most part, everybody knows that you're self-aware.
And it's kind of like he's not this time around. He's not out to try to prove to anybody.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, no, I want to make the music that I want to make. You like it, great. If not, go fuck yourself.
And if you guys watch that conversation with him and his pops, which is a good conversation, and I think you guys should watch it if you get a chance to. But he said that he had a conversation with his pops, and he asked his pops to tell him to stop. He don't have to compete no more. So because he said that's what he was doing, a lot of just competing, and that was kind of fogging his creative process, and because he was in one mindset and probably should have just been more broad with how he was making music, and he's not really competing. He's just because really when you think about KRIT, no one really says your album isn't better than Kendrick's, your album isn't better than Cole's. We're always saying, well, it's not better than Return of Forever. It's not better than KRIT Was Here. Right. You know what I mean? So basically he has to compete with himself.
He's always making people.
He's always have to compete with himself. So I think this is I think it's a good album. I think it's a good step in a different direction, but I don't know if it's a right or wrong, but I think it's a different one. I think it's a good one to show that, hey, I'm out here with you guys too. I've been able to rap. I've been able to produce.
Go to a few of the rap parties,
you know what I mean? But a lot of times,
get off of 2K.
I also feel like, when you're making all those introspective tracks like that he made on the last album, because, he showed obviously the Big Krit side and the Justin Scott side, where the Justin Scott side was more introspective. And maybe he's just not going through those things in his life currently like he was the last album. You know what I mean? So I like the introspection from Krit, to be honest with you, when he's basically in his feelings and being emotional about where his place is. But at the same time, I like where, he does have his chest out a lot more on this album. He made tracks like that before, but not necessarily throughout the whole project.
To me, that was the overriding theme
of
it. So that's kind of what I tell him. Like, okay, you're feeling yourself. Okay. Okay, I'll see you, my man.
All right, now I know again it's very early.
I give this about an 8.5.
8.5.
8.5.
8.5. So we're gonna say it's about a B on the raw rating scale.
Yeah, I think it's a B. A B because I might have been expecting one. Well, you know what? I didn't really have expectations per se. But when you call it KRIT Is Here, when you harken back to KRIT Was Here, you're playing with titles. It's like a blueprint to me, or it's like the Carter to me. It's like, when you name something over again, like when you have an Adrenaline Rush 2, no, don't do that.
Right.
You're not going to make a better album than Adrenaline Rush. You're just not going to do that. Or if a College Dropout 2 came out, no, Kanye, you're not going to make a better album than College Dropout.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I don't really like the number things. I think that's really amongst artists, I think that's lazy. But, it is what it is.
Right. Fair enough. What you got on it?
I was gonna give us like a B plus because I feel with it still kind of having that new car smell to it that maybe some of this stuff kind of it's still there's to me it's still time to grow with this album.
For sure.
I mean, so I can't just say stamp it in stone that this is it because. I mean, it's like I said, it's not even a week yet.
I really only don't like one track. Like I can really skip Family Matters and everything else on here, like Outer Space. I think that's dope.
That's growing on me. Outer Space.
I like Outer Space.
I think Obvious with Rico Love on the hook. I think that's a radio track that he's flowing like a motherfucker on there. If you're listening to the verses, you might think it's a little cheesy Drake knockoff, but I think how he's rapping on the track is dope as hell. So I actually like that song. I like it for KRIT to make a more radio friendly track. So why not? Your peers do it. So how come you can't do it?
And said they're revered for it, basically.
Yeah. I'll give it a B as well. Now I like the progression from his last album, Part 1, Part 2. I do like the direction that he's heading, and I think
seems like his business is on.
Yeah, I think finally now overall he has his team into place, and I think in a way he's being a lot more selfish. And what I mean by selfish is he's not. And God loves him, but Big Son, has always been, kind of close to him and shit like that. It seems just to me that he's, focusing just on KRIT sound and everybody else. I mean, hey, when I come back to you, be ready to go.
Actually, Son's in a group with another cat right now. They're in a group called Two Player. You guys should check their tracks out. because they're jamming.
Right. Straight up, bitch. So again, you know, I do believe that, again, his album is maturing. Me, for looking at an artist from where they started from, where they came from, I want to see that evolution. I want to see that progression over the tracks. Like, you know, obviously Jay-Z can be considered arguably the greatest rapper of all time, but like even if you go listen to the progression of his CDs, you know, from what he was talking about then to what he's talking about now, you know, you see some type of progression in some way, shape, form, or fashion. And I think, you know, between just the last two albums, you know, those are the only ones I'm using because everything beforehand was, you know, niggas on the label and all that other bullshit. You know, from the last two albums, I see a progression from Forever Is a Mighty Long Time to now. So, you know, again, will this one...
It's 2 years.
And it's just 2 years.
And usually, not even, I won't say just 2 years. Right. It's like 2 years. And I think... I don't know if Krit's ever really been one of those artists. He, from a artistic standpoint, from a quality standpoint, he's one of those artists who can take off 2 years and come back. But from being known and being heard and being seen, I don't know if he could take 2 years off again. Yeah, and because I don't. He's not a. You don't hear his name enough for him to take off 2 years.
And the good thing, since he's fronting his own racket now, I don't think he's going to take 2 years off at this point because now you don't have to worry about this and that and the other shit. It's like no, either you want to get
all
in there
that
and
yellow
do it or
tape
not.
shit is out the window.
Right.
And I think that's more. I feel that to me that's the underlying why he's kind of sticking his chest out.
Oh yeah.
Now I'm in control.
I've always been on my own, even when I was on a label, and now I'm really on my own, and I'm still jamming.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. There's some type of Big Krit beat that's gonna play here. But there you have it, a review for Krit Is Here by the artist Big Krit out of Meridian, Mississippi. If you don't know, I ain't never been to Meridian, but there's a pretty dumpsters out.
And if Mike is on the mic, you know it's jamming.
If Mike is on the mic, you know, because we done asked him 40,000 goddamn times. Hey, Mike, you gonna do? Nah, thirsty. Mike, you gonna? Nah, man, I got some shit to do. What you got to do? Sleep. You know, it's just little shit.
Sleep is important.
Sleep is
very important.
Even though I'm going off about 3 hours of sleep today myself. But big ups to Big Krit. Keep putting out material. Yes, nigga, we will be there in September. And the Toyota Music Factory, at least I am. I don't know about you.
Nigga, please.
Yeah, okay,
we'll be there.
Fair enough. That was pretty obvious. Well, yeah, this your boy LP. We have this bitch.